Hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you?
The Liberal corruption continues. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today's top story. That's right, we got more Liberal corruption coming out. So we've got that. We got more updates on the Canada-US situation with Trump. We got more reactions to Trudeau stepping down. Let's jump into this. So first off, in this bombshell report here, we've got Melissa Landsman posting this. 19 million of your tax dollars went towards Liberal government trying to silence their critics. What is wrong with them? So what she's talking about here is this Blacklocks reporter documents 19 million at Karina Gould program launched under the guise of internet fact-checking, paid researchers to find dirt on conservatives and other government critics, sowing discontent. This is disgraceful. What other secrets do they have to hide? That's what we got to ask here, because this stuff is just ridiculous. And this is coming out after things have been locked down for months. So what we're talking about here is Karina Gould's Digital Citizen Initiative. So if we dig into this deeper, the 19 million allegedly used to fund anti-conservative research. The Digital Citizen Initiative, launched in 2019 under then Minister of Democratic Institutions Karina Gould, initially aimed to combat online misinformation, is now accused of targeting conservative voices and advancing liberal interests. A program introduced in 2019 with initial budget of 7 million, ballooned to 19.4 million in 2023. It was billed as a tool to enhance digital literacy, enabling Canadians to better understand online deceptive practices. This is hilarious because they are the kings of deceptive practices. They could just write the book and save us the money and reduce susceptibility to disinformation. However, access to information records obtained by Blacklocks reporter have revealed activities that critics claim went far beyond civic education. One of the most explosive allegations is the initial funded research exploring supposed links between the Conservative Party and bad groups, documents showing funding towards anti-liberal sentiment on social media like X. We've got a liberal here, Kevin LaRue, aka Goblin Commander, reacting to this.
Justin, do you think Justin Trudeau could have won this election? You think Justin Trudeau could have won this election?
I had no problem with Justin Trudeau continuing on.
Yeah, of course. This guy stands up in the House of Commons every day and defends Trudeau right to the end. He's just as corrupt as him.
Put into perspective in terms of the amount of money that the Conservatives and other stakeholders have invested in discrediting Justin Trudeau over the years. It's disgraceful in terms of the millions of dollars that have been mounted against him through, in particular, social media. I believe that the timing for him in terms of stepping down, and I disagree with what likely is a majority of people, I believe the timing is right. We have enough time to have a solid leadership campaign. We will get candidates going into the race. I think at the end of the day, Canadians will be satisfied.
A report by the Halifax-based public relations firm Iris Communications, which was reportedly paid $99,500 under the program, outlined efforts to monitor media perceived as hostile to the Liberal government. According to the firm, the initiative needed to understand disinformation and how it evolves in a Canadian context. Emphasizing the anti-liberal cluster was much more likely about the world event. Another project by Surrey-based Kingdom Acts Foundation allegedly surveyed 1,131 Black Canadians on their political preferences. A $70,500 study concluded 49% of sampled African Canadian group are affiliated with the Liberal Party of Canada. Critics questioned the relevance of such study combating disinformation, labeling it as partisan data gathering exercise. So it goes on to say here that Carleton University got over 99,000 for workshops warning teachers about the dangers of protest movements like the 2022 Freedom Convoy. According to the documents, the workshops targeted educators in Ottawa District Catholic school boards, portraying the convoy as a H-word movement. Simon Fraser University allegedly received $95,500 for a similar project that was painted the Freedom Convoy in the negative light. This is hideous use of tax dollars. They should all be in jail for what they've done.
Talking about with your party needing to sort of show that you can change.
Yes.
What would that look like to you? What do you think the party needs to respond to in the public?
So for example, there are some things that I believe are sacred. One of those things is healthcare. I believe we've done some wonderful things in healthcare. Some things maybe not as much, you know.
What, MAID program? Is that what you've done? That's great.
Oh, there's a lot of resistance to the carbon tax. I think that at the very least, we need to, check with Canadians on that particular issue. And if there's a leadership candidate that's thinking about it, I'm not necessarily going to discourage it. I think that we have to put everything on the table. If we fail at demonstrating to Canadians that we cannot be that venue for change, We will not be in government come summertime. I believe the election's coming up in May for an election date. I'm hoping that whomever our new leader is will come forward with a throne speech that will excite Canadians, that will demonstrate that we are the change that they want to be.
You're so delusional. Get real. We're not voting for you. You're done. Take the hint. Call an election now. Let's be done with this. So it isn't actually the carbon tax. It's just the insults from the CPC that hurt Trudeau. Keep this energy going into the next federal election. It's surely a winning strategy. He's always been off the rails. I mean, this guy, the way he speaks in the House of Commons, like, he's a crazy goblin. Like, he's unhinged. Amazing Liberals never do anything wrong. This time it's the Conservatives that caused him to resign. Newsflash, no one else's fault but Trudeau's. His asinine ideas that he felt every Canadian should adopt is what's gotten him to this place he's at now. We got this one from Doug Ford. We're not going to read this whole thing, but basically he's going scorched earth here on Justin Trudeau. He's like sending him this letter, and he wants Justin Trudeau to take this tariff situation serious with Trump. U.S. President-elect stated intent to impose tariffs on import on Canada. Like, Doug Ford means business here. We can't not show this. Next up, in response to Donald Trump, we've got Elizabeth May. It seems she's been on the sauce. Then again, when isn't she?
Hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California? Oregon? Washington? You've got geography in common with us. And not only that, we've already got a carbon trading system between California and Quebec. We've got some strong alliances on our west coast from British Columbia. There's been a lot of academic papers on the idea of Cascadia. So California, Governor Newsom, and Washington State, Jay Inslee, and newly elected Governor of Oregon, Tina Kotek. How about it? Want to put a referendum to your citizens? Because this is what you deal. Have we got a deal for you? This is what you get. Free health care. Universal free health care. No more.
Yeah, our healthcare is terrible. Let's get real. People wait for months and months, years and years. Often they die before they get the healthcare. I saw one story the other day. Woman was waiting for a basic knee replacement. She finally got the surgery, but then to actually close the wound, she had to be moved to another hospital, and that hospital didn't have anyone available. So she had to wait for a week with an open wound. And when she finally got over there, they said, oh, there's more material that's got all infected. She went back to the other place, and they had to amputate her leg. Our free healthcare is no longer a great thing.
1-year-olds who suddenly fall off the Medicaid list and their parents are in the news because they're trying to do a GoFundMe so they can get their daughter to a doctor. Universal free health care. And guess what? Those gun laws that your Congress is too afraid to pass because of the national gun lobby, we already got our strict gun laws.
Oh, please. Yeah, our healthcare isn't free. We pay for it. May's got to get off the sauce. Like, she's out of control. So moving over to CTV, we've got Scott Reed here talking on the situation with Donald Trump.
Whether or not this lame duck prime minister is in a real position to take on Donald Trump, and given what we heard from President-elect Trump yesterday, that question is just top of mind for so many people right now.
Yeah, you can see all the threads weaving together here with the prime minister having left this decision so late. Now his party is really up against the wall in terms of the selection of a new leader. How do they conduct that race? What can the rules be? Then somebody's going to have to face not only Trump, but also the Canadian electorate almost immediately. And then, as you're pointing out, Donald Trump is on our doorstep. He's not even waiting for inauguration, talking belligerently, almost insanely, frankly. I mean, if it were anybody other than Donald Trump, this would be the most startling foreign policy development in a century, talking about annexing Canada and talking about it not just grandiosely, not just determinedly, but, you know, with real bullying determination. So I think the answer to the question is kind of twofold. One, yes, it would be better to have a stronger political situation domestically where we could present an even more forceful response. But I also think, to be candid, it doesn't really matter to Donald Trump. I don't really, and first of all, I think most of these statements have been motivated by a desire to distract from the anniversary of January 6th. We got to keep that in mind. Second, I don't think Donald Trump gives a tinker's damn whether or not the Canadian prime minister is in any strong domestic political situation. I don't think, for those who argue, oh, well, we need a majority prime minister so that they take a stronger hand. Really? I don't know that that's going to matter to Donald Trump. I don't think he's going to.
It's interesting you brought up January 6th. I mean, we're past it now, but maybe that was the whole point, is just to cause a bunch of commotion. So that wasn't getting brought up just before he was getting inaugurated back into the White House. That's actually very plausible that he would use that as a distraction. I think that's a really good insight, actually.
To say, my God, I'm backed off the plate. I'm a little worried now. This prime minister appears to have broad support across his country. I don't know that he cares or calculates that when he sits down and makes these statements or when he moves on tariffs. And so, yes, it matters, but I don't think we should exaggerate how much it matters.
Okay, I'm just going to pivot here briefly.
What's your problem with the United States absorbing Canada?
That property's not for sale.
So, Scott, I'm wondering if we can get your assessment on that. Ford has been out there on U.S. cable networks pitching the strong relationship between Canada and the U.S., defending Canada. Politically, what do you make of it? And has he become the de facto leader on this at a time when, you know, as I said in the first question, many people think we need one?
I don't know about that, to be honest. I mean,
I think he has. He's the only one that's really speaking up against it. I mean, where's Trudeau? He's not speaking up. He said there's not a snowball's chance in hell on Twitter. That's all he's done. Out of this whole situation, that's all he's done. He also did at the beginning jump on a plane and flew down to Mar-a-Lago and bended a knee to Trump. The Trudeau's shown he's weak. He showed his cards. He's basically begging him, and now Trump's just having fun with him. But how far is Trump going to take this? I don't know.
I think we're going to have to play a whole bunch of different kinds of cards here. I think we're going to have carrot and stick. I think we're going to need good cop and bad cop. It's going to be a combination of, cooperation and compromise, but we're also going to need some resolve and some resilience. I think we're going to need retaliation. I think, the truth of the matter is dealing with Donald Trump is going to be a complicated process. If you stand up to him too greatly, well, then he's angered and he's targeted. If you lay down, he treats you like a doormat and walks over you. He doesn't respect you. So it's an unbelievably complicated and tricky diplomatic and economic challenge that the country faces. And like I said, I really truly think that Donald Trump almost doesn't care who he's sitting across the table from. I mean, Pierre Poilievre, if he were to become prime minister, he will have an obligation to defend Canada's national interests. He will also have to say, as Prime Minister Trudeau, as has Premier Ford, sorry, back off. Canada ain't for sale. And so, as soon as someone does that, tells Donald Trump something he doesn't want to hear, well, he's going to consider them an opponent. That's just the world in which we are going to live for the next number of months. And we're going to have to figure out how to navigate it, how to make certain that domestic political pressure is exerted on Donald Trump such that he feels pain. Pain is the only thing this guy's going to respond to. He'll be as bullying and belligerent as he can until he can't. You have to find a way to put him in a headlock. That's the only way we get out of this.
All right.
He's right there. Donald Trump is going to respond to a show of power, but if you show too much power, he's going to be angry. So there's this kind of middle ground where you have to show some strength, but not too much strength. And as for Greenland and Donald Trump Jr. going over there, they're probably setting up some sort of mineral deal so the U.S. can go over there and mine the critical minerals and get off of the reliance in China. That's probably what's really happening there. Are they going to buy it? What are they going to offer them? $30 billion? Every citizen, there's 55,000 citizens in Greenland. They're going to offer them $1 million each. Are they going to bribe them? They're just going to buy their whole community? I think it's most likely a very aggressive negotiating tactic, or he's saying, I'm going to buy Greenland, and then really dials it back, sets up a mineral rights agreement with them. They can go mine the minerals they need. They give so many back to Greenland, or they give them payment for doing so, and they both win. But who knows? Maybe Trump just wants to completely expand America across Canada and Greenland and create this super nation as part of his legacy. Who knows?
Circling back to the Liberal leadership race, do you think we'll find out the rules today after caucus meets? And then at that point, would we find out who is interested officially?
Yeah, and a lot of people have speculated there will be a relationship between those things, that a number of potential candidates are waiting to see exactly what the rules are before they decide whether or not to toss their hat in. I hope that the rules will be readied. I mean, the national executive, the board, they've had 3 weeks. The rest of us have been watching and speculating as to whether the prime minister would step down. Presumably, they have prepared some scenarios. They've thought about questions like, are you really going to permit non-Canadian citizens to participate in a leadership race?
Something to note here, they're showing this image, but there's been also Jonathan Wilkinson they had on some of these photos of him running, Sean Fraser. There's a whole bunch of them that they're throwing in the hat here, as well as Frank Bayless, which I showed on the show in the previous video. Which rat is going to get the cheese? That's the question here.
Open yourself up to the allegations of foreign interference and the threat of interest group infiltration. Are you really going to set a 4-month leadership race. Clearly not. So hopefully they've thought of those things. If they can't release them today, they better release them very quickly. And to be honest with you, Marcia, I think we might see some candidates come forward and declare their intentions even prior to the release of those rules. Obviously, we've had one relatively marginal candidate declare his intention already, but the biggies, the Chrystia Freelands, the Mark Carneys, Dom LeBlanc, Melanie Joly, what are they going to do? They may await the rules. Some of them may say something even sooner.
What's interesting about Chrystia Freeland is she's already rejected the cabinet position and stepped down. So she's an MP. So she can run. It doesn't affect her in cabinet because she's not in cabinet. So it would be a no-brainer for her, with all the support she has, to try to go for that. It's not like it's going to further hurt her reputation. If Dominic LeBlanc steps down, him being the Minister of Finance, it looks really bad, because then if he has to relinquish those cabinet positions to run for leadership, then it leaves that hole in the government. Same thing goes with Melanie Joly. So essentially, Chrystia Freeland has an up on all of them because of that. Remember when Scott Reed said Trudeau's Mar-a-Lago visit showed strength? I mean, it was obvious. Trudeau just flew down there. He's quickly going to bag Trump. That's what he's like, oh, I don't want this to further hurt my reputation. Please, Trump. That's basically what that was. And how Trump is taking advantage of that. He just wanted to see how weak Trudeau was, and now he's got a gauge of it, and he's just humiliating that guy across the planet. He's seeking revenge against him. But how far is he going to take this with Canada and us? Who knows? Do all the experts buy their glasses from the same place? That is hilarious. Let's see how the court challenge to him proroguing Parliament works out. Yeah, so apparently that is getting challenged in court. We'll see how that happens. I'll bring you guys updates on that. The problem is you start seeing these comments like, let Canada pay their own way. With Trump putting that stuff out and it not being factually correct, people are thinking that that's the case. But like Doug Ford has pointed out numerous times in those press conferences, it's like $500 billion each way. Every year it's up or down, but it's close every year. I think if the Liberals had their heads screwed on, what they would do is release a report with exact numbers showing how much Canada and US trade is, and show all the exact dollar amounts. So they have it on the website. Put that in an easy to read graph, put that out there and send that out and have a press conference and just show the facts. That's what they should be doing, just to tamper the situation with Trump. But instead, Trudeau's doing nothing but sucking his thumb, sitting under his desk and not paying attention to what's going on. I have a feeling this situation is going to get worse before it gets better.